When we breathe, do we breathe the name of God? We're going to talk about a very popular internet myth that has duped a lot of Christians. It all has to do with the pronunciation of God's covenant name in the Hebrew Bible, spelled YHWH or YHWH in English letters.
YHWH. How do you pronounce that?
So Yahweh is the most frequent pronunciation among those who actually pronounce the divine name. If you were to visit a Torah observant Jewish community today or talk to Jewish believers in past centuries, they might say the name Adonai. That's because the name of God was considered so holy that it was unpronounceable, and they would substitute the name Adonai instead. Even today, some Jewish believers consider the name Adonai to be too holy to be pronounced, so they will substitute the name Hashem, which is just Hebrew for the name.
How do you pronounce a word with no vowels?
YHWH. Over time, we added an A and an E to get YAHWEH, presumably because we have a preference for vowels.
So there's a fundamental misconception behind this internet myth, and that is that the divine name did not have any vowels. Many languages in the ancient Near East were often written without vowels, and that includes Hebrew, ancient Egyptian, Ugaritic, and others. Now, these languages had vowels, it's just that scribes chose not to write them. But because of this, it's made recovering the original pronunciation of God's covenant name somewhat complicated. But languages have to have vowels because they help break words into pronounceable parts. It would be impossible to use language with consonants only. In fact, in biblical Hebrew, syllables cannot be pronounced without vowels.
Did you know that the consonants used in the spelling of the sacred name, Yahweh, are in fact the only consonants that, if correctly pronounced, do not allow you to use your tongue or close your lips?
So this is untrue. The Y or the Yod in biblical Hebrew requires the use of the tongue. In making the Y sound, you bring your tongue up close to the hard palate in your mouth and then move it away as you make the sound of the letter. And there is at least one other consonant in Hebrew that does not require movement of the tongue and also does not require the lips to be closed when making these sounds.
When pronounced without intervening vowels, it sounds like breathing.
So his name imitates the natural act of breathing.
We know that the pronouncing of the sacred name was an attempt to imitate and replicate breath.
So this is just not true. The name of God is not designed to imitate the act of breathing. This claim is a modern invention that is designed to be spiritually appealing, and we're about to see why.
God chose to give himself a name that we can't help but speak every moment we're alive.
First word comes out of your mouth after exiting your mother's womb.
Imagine when you are sad and you sigh heavily. You are calling out his name.
And the last word you'll ever speak. You don't have to try to remember, do I want to say a prayer before I die? You're going to anyway. That last breath you take on your deathbed will be the name of God.
And whether you believe in God or not, you're speaking his name every time you take a breath.
So there's something comforting about knowing that God is close. The idea that God gave himself a name that sounds like breathing, that you instinctively utter with every breath, has undeniable appeal. However, this is a modern invention that makes several false claims about the Hebrew language. There are many other passages in the biblical text that describe the immanence of God in our world. We don't need to make up bad reasons to defend it when we have good ones already.